And we see Rasmussen tries to get it out, and Bedard very frustrated. That's a snap the stick.
Connor Bedard touched NHL ice, draped in the once-in-a-generation banner, an instant marketing phenomenon whose rookie jersey sales rivaled Crosby's. Yet 2 seasons later, the highlight reels keep rolling while the standings refuse to budge, and the same newspapers that crowned him now publish columns asking, "What's wrong with Connor?" The harsh truth is that Bedard's jaw-dropping finesse is fighting a triple-layered storm, a lineup stuck in perpetual rebuild, a defensive scheme that yanks him away from his natural attack lanes, and a spotlight so blinding it magnifies every teenage miscue into a franchise-sized flaw. Tonight we're slicing through the hype, the hashtags, and the seductive glare of raw point totals to confront one blunt question. Is hockey's golden child actually faltering, or have we all been staring at the wrong scoreboard? Connor Bedard didn't just enter the NHL in 2023, he detonated onto it. This was the kid who shredded the WHL with 143 points in 57 games, then torched the World Juniors for 23 points in 7 nights, breaking records that belong to names like Lindros and Jerome Eganlaw. By the time Chicago called his name first overall, every scout was already arguing whether he was the best prospect since McDavid or since Crosby. Training camp scrimmages sold out in minutes. Season tickets spiked 18%, beating the post-Toews Kane high water mark. Corporate sponsors fought for ad space that featured nothing but a sideways profile of number 98 loading up his curl and drag wrister. Bedard's first regular season shift lasted 37 seconds and ended with a primary assist. A week later, he scored his first NHL goal, a top corner laser that trended #1 on YouTube for 24 hours. Yet the numbers only tell half the story. His edge work, those inside foot pivots that freeze defenders, became a nightly gift factory. His pre-game autograph line regularly wrapped an entire city block, and every major outlet from Sportsnet to the New Yorker ran some variation of the headline, "The Savior of Chicago Hockey?" By April, he'd banked 61 points in 68 games, snatched the Calder Trophy, and pushed Blackhawks jersey sales past the $500,000 mark. But here's the weight behind the highlight reel. Chicago's rebuild wasn't merely hoping Bedard would be a superstar. It was architected on the assumption that he'd be transcendent. The moment the Calder hit his mantle, the goalposts slid from flash of brilliance to drag a dynasty out of ashes. In other words, the crown was forged before the throne was even built, and every step since has been measured against that shimmering rookie bar. General manager Kyle Davidson spent last July wheeling in support acts. Veteran sniper Ryan Donato, play-driving winger Tovo Teravainen, locker room sheriff Patrick Maroon. Former coach Luke Richardson pledged to cut down odd man rushes with a tighter D-zone box +1 and feed Bedard more transition looks. Season ticket sales spiked 12%. Pundits predicted a 20-point leap for the kid and a flirtation with wildcard status for the team. In hindsight, that optimism ran on the thinnest of fuel. By American Thanksgiving, the club languished dead last in goals for, and Richardson's aggressive man-tracking system looked downright chaotic. December 5th, the day Richardson was fired, felt like a mercy pull. Interim bench boss Anders Sorensen patched holes until May 22nd, when Jeff Blashill parachuted in to steer a 25-46-11 shipwreck back toward respectability. For Bedard, every tactical shuffle meant learning new reads, new D-zone exits, and new routes through neutral ice traffic. The headline stat line, 23 goals, 44 assists, 67 points. Looks decent until you realize it's just 6 points better than year 1 despite 14 extra games. His plus-minus imploded to -36, and his face-off wins crept from a putrid 29.7% to 38.3%, still 160th among 172 qualified centers. Advanced tracking shows Bedard spending roughly 38% of his shifts pinned in the defensive zone, identical to fellow teen phenom Macklin Celebrini in San Jose, but miles behind the 31% enjoyed by Connor McDavid or Nathan MacKinnon. Chicago's collapse and switch coverage asks its center to sag low, then sprint high on every rotation. For a teenager giving up nearly 30 pounds to most power forwards, that grind steals oxygen from his real weapon, offense. Imagine authoring a novel with 8 co-writers swapped in mid-chapter. That's Bedard's Linemate chart. Donato, Teravainen, Nick Foligno, Joey Anderson, Jason Dickinson, even 38-year-old Corey Perry for a 5-game cameo. No time to build instinctive give-and-go reads. No predictability on the rush. In January alone, he logged logged separate 5-on-5 minutes with all 3 of Chicago's AHL call-ups. Draw after draw slips away at center ice. Veterans cheat, lean on kid legs, tie up his stick, leave him chasing. Bedard studied Crosby's 2006 tapes, worked with skills coach Yannick Perreault, and still hovers at 38%. Chicago briefly shifted him to right wing so Nick Foligno could take draws, but that merely plastered one leak and sprung another. Without Bedard down low, the breakout stalled entirely. Strip away the D-zone baggage and the kid can still torch. Corey Snyder's All 3 Zones project logs him at 1 point, 2 rush attempts per game, 5th league-wide, and a top 10 entry carry success rate. When Bedard accelerates without the puck, defensemen panic, pivot, and gift him the blue line. The problem, Chicago rarely flips the ice cleanly enough to unleash that jetpack. Mid-February, 12 games without a goal. Cameras caught Bedard muttering, "I'm doing nothing out there." Clips went viral, talk radio vultures circled, rumors flew, he was unhappy, maybe homesick, maybe already eyeing Vancouver. In April exit interviews, he shut that down with practiced calm. "I love being here. This city believed in me first." Yet wisps of smoke cling whenever a superstar suffers on a rebuild. It took one MSN blog and a feverish HF Boards thread to send the hashtag Bedard trade trending. Anonymous sources claimed certain Eastern GMs kicked tires. Bedard's camp laughed it off. Chicago's front office called it fiction. Still, every teardown rebuild reaches a moment when fans wonder if flipping the asset might accelerate the plan. For now, Davidson's phone is on silent. Power play? Deadly. 11 man advantage goals, 18 helpers, most of them threaded seams that split penalty kills like old parquet. Takeaway giveaway ratio climbed to +70, proof that his stick lift timing remains elite even when the box score stutters. Off ice, he added 7 pounds of functional muscle and cut body fat to 9%. The seeds of dominion are there, they just need sunlight. The franchise sits on $29 million cap space and a 13.5% shot at drafting Phenom defenseman Ados Laxo. Beat writers whisper about wooing Mitch Marner in free agency or buying low on Cole Perfetti. Bedard will get help. The clock is whether that help arrives before frustration calcifies. Crosby's sophomore dip, 13-game goal drought. McDavid's year 2 ended with a broken collarbone and 48 games played. Even Wayne Gretzky's second WHA season saw a drop in shooting percentage before Edmonton joined the NHL. Greatness rarely arcs in a straight line. For Bedard, this season could be the bruise that teaches durability. Connor Bedard's second season won't decorate a Hall of Fame corridor, yet it may become the hinge on which his legend swings. Strip away the Terry Tower Bedard trade chatter and coaching soap opera, and you find the test every phenom must pass, creating brilliance when the circumstances are bleak. History rhymes. Gretzky was dismissed as too slight in his first pro year. Crosby slogged through a 13-game drought. David's collarbone shattered amid a leaky roster. Each emerged tougher, wiser, and ultimately unstoppable. Bedard is now traversing that same crucible. Look under the hood and the raw material is hardening. His takeaway giveaway margin flipped positive. Face-off wins crept up nearly 10 points, and 29 power play points turned a bottom 5 unit into a mid-pack threat. Those gains aren't headline fodder, but they're the scaffolding of a 200-foot game, and proof that the extra muscle and endless rep count weren't for show. The mental alloy matters even more. Losing seasons teach lessons winning streaks never will. When to conserve gas in a dead rubber November shift, how to absorb criticism without letting it ossify into doubt, and how to carry expectations heavy enough to buckle lesser backs. Those skills aren't logged by tracking software, but every champion collects them like scars. Chicago now sits at an inflection point. Cap space, lottery odds, and a new system could hand Bedard the support he's lacked. Yet even if help is slow to arrive, the kid is showing he can generate lift in thin air. Greatness rarely ascends in a straight line. It resembles a jagged waveform that only makes sense once we zoom out. Years from now, this season may read not as the year a prodigy stalled, but the season a cornerstone was forged.